11 Scriptures about service to others, serving, PDF, Bible verses, quiz, unique facts, classes, scriptures about service to others. The Bible has many scriptures that emphasize the importance of service to others. These scriptures provide guidance on how to live a life of service, love, and kindness. They remind us to put others before ourselves, to be humble and generous, and to always seek to do good. They also offer comfort and hope in difficult times, assuring us that God is always with us. The scriptures show us that God cares deeply about how we treat others and that when we serve others, we are serving God. 11 Scriptures about service to others as Christians. Serving others is not just a duty, but a calling. It is an expression of our faith, an act of obedience to God, and an opportunity to reflect His love to the world around us. The Bible is filled with teachings and examples of service, from Jesus washing His disciples' feet to Paul's tireless work to spread the gospel. In this well-researched, religious, and historical blog, we will explore some of the most inspiring and encouraging scriptures about service to others. We will examine biblical examples of leadership, commands, principles, and verses that guide us in serving with love and purpose. Galatians 5:13. You, my brothers and sisters, were called to be free, but do not use your freedom to indulge the flesh, rather, serve one another humbly in love. This verse encourages us to use our freedom to serve others, rather than using it to satisfy our own desires. It reminds us to serve one another with humility and love. Luke 6:38, Give, and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together and running over, will be poured into your lap. For with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. This verse encourages us to give freely and generously, knowing that it will be returned to us. Philippians 2:3-4, Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interests but each of you to the interests of the others. Here, Paul is reminding us to be humble and to put others first. We should not look to our own interests, but to the interests of others. Matthew 25:40, The king will reply, Truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. This verse reminds us that when we serve others, we are serving Jesus. It encourages us to be mindful of how we treat others, as it is the same as how we treat Jesus. Romans 12:10, Be devoted to one another in love, honor one another above yourselves. This verse reminds us to be devoted to one another in love and to honor one another above ourselves. It encourages us to practice selfless love and service. Hebrews 6:10, God is not unjust, He will not forget your work and the love you have shown Him as you have helped His people and continue to help them. This verse reminds us that God will not forget our service to others. It encourages us to serve others, knowing that God will reward us for it. 1 Peter 4:10-11, Each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others, as faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms. If anyone speaks, they should do so as one who speaks the very words of God. If anyone serves, they should do so with the strength God provides, so that in all things God may be praised through Jesus Christ. This verse encourages us to use the gifts God has given us to serve others. It also reminds us that whatever we do, we should do it for the glory of God. 1 Corinthians 12:4-7, There are different kinds of gifts, but the same Spirit distributes them. There are different kinds of service, but the same Lord. There are different kinds of working, but in all of them and in everyone it is the same God at work. This verse reminds us that God has given us different gifts and talents, and that He is the one at work in all of them. It encourages us to use our gifts and talents to serve God and others. James 1:27, Religion that God our Father accepts as pure and faultless is this, to look after orphans and widows in their distress and to keep oneself from being polluted by the world. This verse encourages us to look after those in need, such as orphans and widows, and to keep ourselves from being influenced by the world. It reminds us to serve others out of love and not out of selfishness. John 13:34-35, A new command I give you, love one another, as I have loved you, so you must love one another. By this everyone will know that you are my disciples, if you love one another. Here, Jesus is emphasizing the importance of loving one another. He reminds us that if we want to be known as His disciples, we must love one another. Matthew 20:28, Just as the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve, and to give His life as a ransom for many. This verse reminds us of the example Jesus set for us, that He did not come to be served, but to serve others. It encourages us to follow Jesus' example and to serve others out of love. Service, a biblical call to action. Service is not just an option for Christians, it is a calling. In Mark 10:45, Jesus reminds us that even the Son of Man came not to be served but to serve, and to give His life as a ransom for many. He sets the ultimate example of selfless service and calls us to follow in His footsteps. Service is not just a duty we perform, it is an act of worship that glorifies God and blesses those around us. 5 reasons that Jesus taught for us to learn to serve others to love as Christ loved. Jesus told His disciples to love one another as I have loved you, John 15:12. This is a call to serve others with the same selfless love that Jesus showed us on the cross. We are to serve others out of love, not out of obligation or duty. To fulfill the great commandment, Jesus said that the greatest commandment is to love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind. Matthew 22:37. He then said that the second greatest commandment is to love your neighbor as yourself. Matthew 22:39. By serving others, we fulfill the great commandment and show our love for God and our neighbors. To follow Jesus' example, Jesus set the example for us of how to serve others. He healed the sick, fed the hungry, and reached out to the outcast. He said, "If anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me." Matthew 16:24. We are to follow Jesus' example of selfless service to others. To be a blessing to others, Jesus told us to go and make disciples of all nations. Matthew 28:19. We are to be a blessing to others by serving them and sharing the gospel with them. We are to be agents of God's grace, mercy, and love to the world. To glorify God, everything we do should be done to the glory of God. 1 Corinthians 10:31. By serving others, we honor God and reflect the love and grace that He has shown us. As we serve, we are to do so with the intention of glorifying God and pointing others to Him. Serving God and others. Biblical examples of leadership throughout the Bible. We see countless examples of leaders who served God and others with humility, courage, and dedication. Moses led the Israelites out of Egypt, David served as a shepherd and king, and Esther risked her life to save her people. Jesus himself was the ultimate example of servant leadership, humbly serving his disciples and ultimately sacrificing his life for the salvation of all humanity. ESV verses on serving others with love. The ESV translation of the Bible is known for its accuracy and readability, and it offers many powerful verses on serving others with love. Some of these verses include Galatians 5:13. For you were called to freedom, brothers, only do not use your freedom as an opportunity for the flesh, but through love serve one another. 1 Peter 4:10. As each has received a gift, use it to serve one another, as good stewards of God's varied grace. Colossians 3:23-24. Whatever you do, work heartily, as for the Lord and not for men, knowing that from the Lord you will receive the inheritance as your reward. You are serving the Lord Christ. Serving others. 9 biblical examples. The Bible not only gives us examples of serving others but also commands us to do so. In John 13:14-15, Jesus says, "If I then, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. For I have given you an example, that you also should do just as I have done to you." In Matthew 25:40, he also says, "Truly, I say to you, as you did it to one of the least of these my brothers, you did it to me." Moses was a great leader who showed great service to others by leading the Israelites out of slavery in Egypt and into the Promised Land. He also received the 10 Commandments from God, and was responsible for many of the laws and regulations of the nation of Israel. Joshua was the leader of the Israelites after Moses. He led the Israelites into battle and was responsible for the conquest of the Promised Land, which was promised to the Israelites by God. David was a great leader and a man after God's own heart. He was a great king who showed great service to others, giving generously to the poor and needy. He also fought against Goliath and captured Jerusalem from the Philistines. Solomon was another great leader of Israel, and he was known for his wisdom and justice. He served the people of Israel by ruling wisely, and by building the temple in Jerusalem. Esther was a brave Jewish woman who showed great service to others by risking her own life to save her people from destruction. She bravely approached the Persian king and asked him to spare the Jewish people, and her courage inspired the king to do so. Nehemiah was a great leader of the Israelites who showed great service to others by rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem and encouraging the people to return to their homeland. Daniel was a great leader and a man of faith who showed great service to others by interpreting dreams for kings and standing up for his faith in the face of persecution. Paul was a great leader in the early church who showed great service to others by traveling and preaching the gospel to the Gentiles. He was also responsible for writing most of the New Testament. Loving others through service. Biblical verses. Love is the foundation of Christian service, and the Bible offers many powerful verses on loving others through service. Some of these verses include 1 Corinthians 16:14, "Let all that you do be done in love." Philippians 2:3-4, "Do nothing from rivalry or conceit, but in humility." 7 reasons that serving others helps us with our problems. Serving helps to build resilience and a sense of purpose. Serving others can give us a sense of purpose and meaning in our lives. It can help us to develop resilience in the face of challenges and setbacks, and provide us with a sense of accomplishment and satisfaction. Serving helps to build relationships and foster connection. Serving others can help us to build relationships with people we may not otherwise have the opportunity to interact with. It can also foster connection and compassion between people who are different. Serving can help us to understand our own needs and values. When we serve others, we get a better understanding of our own needs and values. Serving can help us to recognize our own strengths and weaknesses, as well as our own potential for growth. Serving can help us to develop empathy. When we serve others, we get a better understanding of the struggles and hardships that other people may be going through. This can help us to develop empathy and understanding towards them. Serving can help us to practice self-care. By taking the time to serve others, we can be taking care of our own needs as well. This can help us to stay grounded and focused on our own needs and wants, as well as those of others. Serving can help us to maintain balance. Serving others can help us to maintain balance in our lives. When we serve others, we are able to step back and gain perspective on our own lives. This can help us to stay centered and focused on our own well-being. Serving can help us to grow and learn. Service can help us to learn new skills, expand our knowledge and understandings, and develop as individuals. Serving can also help us to grow as individuals by giving us the opportunity to take on new challenges and gain new experiences. What does the Bible say about serving others? The Bible is clear about the importance of serving others. In Matthew 23:11, Jesus tells his disciples, "The greatest among you shall be your servant." In Romans 12:10, Paul instructs us to love one another with brotherly affection. Outdo one another in showing honor. And in James 1:27, we are called to visit orphans and widows in their affliction. Serving others, a guide from the Bible. If we want to serve others effectively, we need to look to the Bible for guidance. Here are some principles that can help us serve with love and purpose. Serve with humility. Jesus teaches us that true greatness comes from serving others, not from seeking power or recognition. Mark 10:43-44. Serve with joy. The Bible tells us that God loves a cheerful giver. 2 Corinthians 9:7. When we serve others with joy, we reflect God's love and bring joy to those we serve. Serve with generosity. We are called to share what we have with those in need. Luke 3:11. Serve with compassion. When we serve others, we are called to show compassion and kindness. Ephesians 4:32. Serve with excellence. Whatever we do, we are called to do it with excellence, as if we are serving the Lord himself. Colossians 3:23-24. What does the Bible teach about serving others? The Bible teaches us that serving others is not just a good deed, but an essential part of our faith. In James 2:14-17, we are reminded that faith without works is dead. Father, grandfather, minister, missionary, deacon, elder, author, welcome to our family. View all posts.